So on September 2nd, 2022 in Albuquerque, you had Sonia Tenorio. Sonia Tenorio, age 46. 46-year-old Sonia Tenorio was shot and killed in Albuquerque. It was on the 2nd. It was a double homicide. So it wasn't just her, but Daniel Humphrey, the woman's 31-year-old brother, and Sonia Tenorio, her 46-year-old aunt. So the guy had already killed the woman, and then I don't know who the main woman is, but the woman's brother and her aunt. This is her aunt, and then the woman's 11-year-old daughter was also there. So the guy that's shooting is trying to kill this whole family. He's trying to kill this whole family. And the guy who is doing the shooting is John Paul Ballejos. John Paul Ballejos is the, alleged shooter, but he did it, right? So is it justified? Which this just seems like sick, disgusting execution, shit. I'm going to read this whole article. They're trying to sue the APD. The family is suing the APD too because they said that their incompetence had led to this. So let's just read this article. A lot of words here. This isn't normal family questions homicide investigation. Elise Kaplan, AlbuquerqueJournal.com. Posted October 22, 23. Updated. Diego Chavira gets emotional remembering the night he raced to the Ballejos home where his mother lived. She had been babysitting his 2-year-old daughter and he was worried something was gravely wrong. It was. When Chavira arrived, he found his mother and her longtime boyfriend had both been shot to death. His little girl was not physically hurt. Diego Chavira. So, Chavira immediately told detectives he thought he knew who was responsible. 3 months later, that man, 30-year-old John Paul Ballejos, was arrested and charged in an unrelated double homicide. Police say he shot and killed his downstairs neighbors in an apartment complex on 59th Northwest because he blamed them for his eviction. Gilbert Gallegos, an Albuquerque Police Department spokesman, said homicide detectives did not interview Ballejos in the months following the Ballejos homicides. He said that Ballejos is the only suspect, although he has not been charged. The investigation is still open. After Ballejos was arrested in September following the other double homicide, he chose not to answer questions, Gallegos said. He said bullets and casings found at each scene have been tested and do not match one another. Meanwhile, Chavira and his close-knit extended family are questioning the thoroughness of the investigation and what they said was a lack of communication from the police department. They wonder if more could have been done earlier and whether the September homicides could have been prevented. I want the police and whoever is held responsible, I want those people to feel the pressure that I feel to find answers, Chavira said. I want to redirect that pressure onto the people who need to be pressured. Something is wrong. The first couple times Chavira's 2-year-old daughter called him on the night of May 31st, he didn't think much was amiss. His mother was babysitting while he and his wife helped his father and brother pack up for the move. The 22-year-old's hands were full and he was frustrated that his mother wasn't stepping in to stop the calls. The little girl babbled her grandparents' nicknames and "I'm ready." That's when it hit him. Something was very wrong. What is this? Her grandparents' nicknames. I gotta fly over there just see what's going on, Chavira said. On my way over there, it's just like the weight of the world just kept coming down harder and harder. That phone just kept ringing. We kept answering. Chavira and his wife sang to their daughter on the phone, trying to keep her calm as they rushed to the home on 8th Southwest across from Tingley Field. Chavira said when they arrived, he leapt out of the car before it was even in park. A stained glass window in the entrance was shattered. Running to the kitchen, Chavira found his mother's boyfriend, 44-year-old Hesequio Cordova, dead on the floor. In the bedroom was his mother, 46-year-old Virginia Serna. She had also been shot to death and her pit bull Bo was wounded by her side. Serna's gun holstered lay between her and the bed. Chavira's daughter was on the living room couch, physically unharmed. She had a pretty white dress on, he said, choking up with tears. She had 1 drop of blood on her, and I just grabbed her. The next several hours were a blur. Chavira and his wife called 911 and were put in the back of separate police cruisers to be interviewed by detectives. When they asked who he thought had done this, Chavira said he had an immediate answer. Cordova's nephew, Ballejos, who Cordova had filed a restraining order against in early 2020. Well, he didn't answer the restraining order. He didn't respect that piece of paper, that legal piece of paper. But over the following weeks and months, Shavira, who had become the family's point person, said he was seldom able to get in touch with the detective and others at APD. Relatives, many of whom told the Journal they previously had only felt respect for law enforcement and authority, grew frustrated at what they said was lack of updates and a lack of progress. They worried that whoever did this could hurt them as well. And it's not normal, Nicole Zamora said, Shavira's second cousin who spoke with the Journal alongside him. This isn't something anyone should have to go through. Addressing the family's concern about the investigation, Ballejos said, every homicide case is constantly reviewed to ensure the detective has all the resources they need for a successful outcome. He said at times it can be difficult to give similar updates to several family members, but detectives try their best. Ballejos would not comment on whether anyone in the chain of command raised any concerns about the investigation. Ballejos' mother and grandfather did not respond to requests for comment. Neither did his attorney. Eviction notice. In mid-July, a woman living in the apartment below Ballejos on the 500 block of 59th Northwest reported that a bullet had been shot through his floor and into her bedroom. No one was in her room at the time. So Ballejos shoots a fucking bullet straight down, and what? He was pissed off at the people. Hey, y'all better shut up! And he shoots a bullet. And then he reports it, and it's like, why did you report that? Why'd you report that? He don't seem like John Paul Ballejos. Let's get a picture of this. So he's killed 4 people. 1 double homicide, another double homicide. Is he going to stay in jail? Is he going to get bailed out tomorrow? And since he's, killed 4 people, do they have capital punishment in New Mexico? So that's the guy, Ballejos. So let's carry on with some more. So, yeah, what a fucking degenerate fucking piece of shit, huh? APD arrests man for Friday's double homicide. SWAT officers arrested him in the Barelas home, the site of a separate double homicide in May. John Paul Ballejos, 30, was arrested today. That was September 3rd, 2022. Charged in the shooting deaths of Daniel Humphrey, 31, and Humphrey's aunt, Sonia Tenorio, 46. APD officers responded to a shot spotter activation Friday shortly after 9 p.m. at an apartment complex located at 565 59th Street Northwest. Officers arrived on scene and discovered Humphrey outside an apartment with several gunshot wounds. Officers entered the apartment and found Tenorio with several gunshot wounds. Both Humphrey and Tenorio died as a result of their wounds. During an investigation that lasted through the night and into Saturday, homicide detectives learned that Ballejos had been living in an apartment directly above the apartment where Humphrey lived with his aunt and sister. On July 11th, 2022, Ballejos shot a bullet through the floor into the downstairs apartment. The shooting was reported to the police and the apartment management, which initiative a court proceeding to evict Ballejos. Humphrey's sister, Cynthia Humphrey, also reported to the apartment's manager that Ballejos was texting and harassing her. Detectives obtained video surveillance that showed the hooded assailant approach the apartment where the Humphreys were living shortly after 9 p.m. He walked away after nobody answered the door. Shortly after, Daniel Humphrey is seen on the video walking toward the apartment. The assailant approaches from behind. Humphrey shuts the door to the apartment from the outside and turns to face the man. The man pulls out a dark-colored handgun and shot Humphrey twice in the head. Detectives determined the assailant went inside the apartment and shot Tenorio in the face and head. Detectives also discovered a bullet hole on the lock to the door of the bedroom that belonged to Cynthia Humphrey. The door. So God, calling the police made that way fucking worse. The police didn't stop it, didn't help, didn't scare the guy, and the guy went ahead and, I told you all to shut up, and now you're going to get me evicted. Now there's going to be more shit. So the shit just keeps on fucking going. When you have a piece of shit, he just keeps on. The door had been kicked into the frame split, allowing the assailant access to the bedroom. However, Cynthia Humphrey was not home at the time of the shooting. Witnesses identified the assailant shown in the surveillance video as John Paul Ballejos. Okay, so any other details? This is the local family is suing them. Ballejos, September 2nd, the day after a judge signed a writ of restitution to evict Ballejos. So he got his eviction, and then he was supposed to leave. But where was he supposed to go to? That's Oregon, right? You can't kick somebody out unless they have some place to go to. He should have been arrested. He shot a bullet hole through the fucking floor. There's a hole in the damn floor. You should be able to tell the look at his gun, look at his bullet casings, and look at the damn hole. The door to the woman's bedroom had been shot and kicked in, according to a criminal complaint filed in Metropolitan Court. The woman did not respond to messages from the Journal. Detectives found security camera footage of a man shooting Humphrey twice in the head just outside his door and then entering the apartment, presumably to shoot Tenorio. The man left the apartment 22 minutes later. Both the woman and the apartment manager identified the suspect as Ballejos. The grandfather, in jail, waiting on trial. 2 counts of murder and tampering with evidence. Looking at his mugshot, Xavier said Ballejos is much skinnier than he used to be. The words, the root of evil, are tattooed in cursive along his collarbone. So, he's the root of evil. Sonia, who multiple relatives described as a free spirit, raised Xavier and his older brother, Ezra, in Ruidoso. She was quick to take in other relatives when they needed a place to live, including her cousin Zamora. About 10 years ago, Sonia and Xavier moved to Albuquerque and made the adjustment to the big city life. This is somebody who in our everyday life impacted us and made sure to make a difference, Xavier said about his mother. She was just charismatic, outgoing, energetic, super energetic. You almost want to calm her down. You had to relax her a little. Sonia met Cordova, who went by JR, about 8 or 9 years ago, and after the Xavier said it seemed that she was in a really good place. The two loved to sing karaoke. Cordova's go-to song was Elvis Presley's Unchained Melody. Wise men say only fools rush in, and I can't help falling in love. Is that Unchained Melody? Probably not. These days, Xavier said it's hard for him to hear it. He really became a protector, somebody I look up to, somebody I trusted, somebody I was proud to say I wasn't my father, but, helped raise me in a way. He was amazing, Xavier said. Cordova's Baralas house was a family home, and Ballejos was family, but Xavier remembered Sonia telling him over the years about erratic and frightening things that Ballejos had done and how he seemed to be using drugs. The couple called police at least 3 times, reporting Ballejos was threatening to kill them or his mother. Sonia and Cordova bought guns. She was afraid of him, and it took a lot for Virginia to be afraid, Zamora said. JR told her to start wearing the gun because he didn't trust him. In 2015, Ballejos shot and killed his girlfriend's cousin. After the man broke into their home, the two fought, according to a police report at the time. Ballejos told police the man had swung at him, so he shot him. When the officers arrived, they found a knife next to the dead man. According to the incident report, that homicide was ruled justifiable, but was mentioned frequently in later reports, once by Ballejos, who said it was the source of his post-traumatic stress disorder. In February 2020, Cordova got a restraining order against Ballejos, saying he was threatening Sonia and himself and using drugs. He said he wanted Ballejos to get help and become accountable, but he can no longer have him around. He constantly reminds us that he has murdered someone before and got away with self-defense, and he will not be afraid to kill us, Cordova wrote. A judge granted his restraining order application for the period of 1 year ending February 2021. Young girl traumatized. These days, Sonia's many relatives say they feel some relief for knowing that Ballejos had been arrested, but they want justice for their family as well. Bo, Sonia's dog, survived his gunshot wounds and is living with Xavier. Xavier's 2-year-old has been changed by her grandparents' violent deaths and has now shown signs of PTSD, turning white, going blank in the eyes when a door handle wiggles or she hears anything that sounds like a gunshot or any kind of fighting. She's still traumatized. She's super damaged, Xavier said. She'll never be the same kid again, and people need to be held responsible for that. They're suing the APD. Let's read a couple paragraphs here. The attorneys filed 2 lawsuits this week claiming mistakes and failures led to a double homicide in September. The lawsuits center around John Paul Ballejos, who had a list of violent offenses against him dating back to 2016. Most recently, he was charged with 2 homicides stemming from a September incident at a Southwest Albuquerque apartment complex. The lawsuit against APD claims those 2 victims could still be alive if it weren't for the string of investigative mistakes. It's always extremely difficult to have a case like this where you see multiple areas where this could have been prevented. David Adams, a partner at Parnell and Adams Law, one of the law offices on the lawsuit. Going back to Memorial Day, investigators found Ballejos, his uncle, and his girlfriend dead in their Albuquerque home. The filed lawsuit claims the girlfriend's son immediately advised APD that John Paul Ballejos was the murderer. So immediately they already know. Going back to Memorial Day, okay, the first one, there's 5 deaths, there's 5 dead bodies. The first one was self-defense, and then he killed 2 people, and then he killed 2 other people. He's a fucking serial killer, and he's killed 4 fucking people. And he needs to stay in jail forever, if not capital punishment. It alleges APD failed to interrogate, detain, or surveil Ballejos for his involvement in their murders. Yeah, what the fuck is up with that? Oh, he just killed, 1, 2, 3 people, and yeah, he's threatening to kill you, but that doesn't mean, Are you the dumbest person? Are you the worst investigative police officer in the world? No matter what job you have or what type of business you own, no matter what type of service you have for the state or city of New Mexico, we all got a responsibility to do the best job we can. Fast forward to July 11th, Ballejos' downstairs neighbors called police when he allegedly shot into her apartment. The lawsuit claims APD's only investigative step in that case was knocking on Ballejos' door. I feel like these are the types of cases that sometimes fly under the radar. No one pays attention to them. Multiple people end up dead. Anytime this kind of thing happens, it definitely, shocks the system, because we certainly should have a higher expectation of what to expect from individuals investigating serious crimes, especially involving the most vulnerable parts of our community. Less than 2 months after that shooting, Ballejos struck the same apartment again. He's accused of killing the woman's brother and aunt. The family is claiming a violation of New Mexico Civil Rights Act, among other violations. Good thing there's still a family to sue. I mean, he's killing all the family, like this family, that family, brother, aunt. It's like he's trying to. My hope is all these cases change systemic problems when it comes to law enforcement. You need somebody. You need me down there. I don't want murders to happen. I give a shit. I'm sick of motherfuckers just killing people for no fucking reason. James Holmes killed all those innocent people, and it's 20 years later, and he's got 3 hots in a cot. Why? Because the system took care of him, meaning they took care of him. They gave him 3 hots in a cot. You think if James Holmes would have gone up to the system and said, man, if I don't get 3 hots in the cot for the rest of my life, A, B, and C was going to happen. You think they would have stopped it and prevented it? No, they wouldn't have gave a fuck. They wouldn't have gave a fuck. And then the victims, you have to sit around living fucking scared. And yeah, guess what? They feel like something's going to happen because they're living their fucking lives and now they're fucking dead, you pieces of shit. I'd be mad as fuck too about this shit, you fucking motherfuckers. I'm mad about this shit. I'm not the family, but you had innocent people that was fucking being victimized. Where were the cops? Where were the judges? Where were the lawyers? Where was the DA? Where was anybody? Where's the mayor? So RIP to, all the victims. We'll have to try to memorize all the names. 5 people. So, they got, right. RIP to Sonia Tenorio and Daniel Humphrey. 31-year-old Daniel Humphrey and Sonia Tenorio, 46 years old. RIP.